We're joined by our good friend Roger Wallace. Roger, we know you were not in Athens that day, covering a lot of basketball there in the home city, but what did you make of that game? I don't think a lot of people had a blowout win by the scoreboard perspective there for the Georgia Bulldogs. What did you make of Texas there in Athens?
Yeah, it felt like three different games rolled into one. The first part, Texas gets the ball, they move it, but they do what they've kind of done all year when they've struggled. Penalties, drop pass, settle for a field goal. So they jump out to the 3-0 lead, then blink of an eye, 14 points from Georgia, and it's 14-3, and you think, okay, it's on. Then Texas starts getting stops. They can't do anything offensively, but they keep it to 11. You got to go all the way to the end of the third quarter, and Texas gets it to 14-10.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they're in it. They do enough. They got the pick from Anthony Hill. Then it looks like they're going to get a stop. Timeout on a measurement or a review. Kirby Smart changes his mind, goes for it on fourth, gets it. Second, fourth down, gets it. Touchdown, onside kick, touchdown, game over.
Wow. Yeah, you're exactly right.
It was that weird,
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right. And one of the things that we mentioned this time last week was the fact that, and you mentioned Anthony Hill getting that big play there. They also had Michael Taft back. Got a lot of guys back from injury. Are you surprised to see how poorly, I'm using that word relatively speaking, how poorly the defense played given the fact that all of these pieces were returning?
Yeah, because they gave up so many big plays, so many chunk plays to Georgia. And Georgia, their offense just looks so dynamic. And I know it hasn't always been the case this year, kind of like the defense has had their struggles. And for most of the game, they look dynamic. So then you start going, okay, is their opponent? And what's Texas's problems on both sides of the ball? But, Texas scored that touchdown to make it 14-10. And they got the two fourth downs, but then they just cruise right into the end zone, and all of a sudden you take away all that momentum. But sure, I mean, this is a Texas defense last year that, they won games, and this year the defense was good enough. They kept them in games, especially early on when you think about what happened against Oklahoma, Kentucky, even Ohio State, where they gave up 14 points. And then all of a sudden it goes the other way, starting with Mississippi State, the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt, the fourth quarter against Georgia. That's two in a row, by the way, 21-0. They're outscoring the fourth quarter. Different ways. Vanderbilt, they were hanging on.
Right.
And Georgia, obviously, trying to get back in it, and it snowballed after that onside kick. So, yeah, a lot of questions on a lot of different fronts, and they haven't been in this position a while where just not realistic, especially in the conference race. I know you guys teased that maybe there's a path back into the playoff. I would have agreed with you if it was 21-10, 21-13, Final Four, but I don't know if they can overcome a 25-point loss where the nation wanted to see, okay, was there 4 wins in a row legit, big time, are they back, or they settle back into, okay, big ball game against a team like Georgia, and they can't hang.
Roger, I almost want to ask, what do you think the defensive problems are on? Is it a Steve Sarkeesian problem? Is it a defensive group mindset and effort and focus problem? Because, I mean, it's like they play 3 quarters now, these last 2 games, and then they just forget how to play in the fourth quarter.
Well, I'll say that the back end isn't what it was last year, so they just don't have as good of players on the back end. I will also say when the offense punts the ball quickly over and over, it stands to reason the defense is going to wear down a little bit. And I think that's certainly been a problem for this team. The offense, it doesn't mean they have to score every time, but they need to drive the ball. They need to get the defense off the field. But the back end has been an issue, and they've been exploited. They were exploited by Vanderbilt a little bit. They've always had that other cornerback problem. Go back to Florida, and that was a double problem at corner because Malik Muhammad, didn't play in that game. And then when Muhammad's in there, it's clear they go away from him on that other side. But they just haven't made the plays. Now, they were on a big tear in that 4-game win streak with sacks. They got up there to being one of the top sack teams in the country. Not getting as many takeaways. Last year, 31 takeaways. So, Brian Niblett hasn't been a factor since the win against Mississippi State. So the kicking game hasn't really been a big weapon. And you could argue, guys, and I was thinking about this yesterday, If you ask the MVP of the Texas team, and as absurd as it sounds, 3 of the Texas 7 wins, Ryan Niblett has changed the game more than anybody else. And those are 3 SEC games, and 2 of them are against, Mississippi State down 17 and number 6 at the time, Oklahoma. It sounds crazy.
Right.
But as far as just sheer difference in the game, those 3 games, Niblett was really the difference in the game. So that kind of tells you where this team is this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a chance to hear from Coach Steve Sarkeesian on his team underachieving.
I mean, I guess that's into who voted us number 1, okay? What I think is that this team has competed their tail off. They've been faced with a lot of different adversity and injuries, and a lot of stuff has come across this team's plate. And I'm very, very proud of them with their resiliency. At the end of the day, at the University of Texas, we're held to a very high standard. And the standard is to compete for championships year in and year out. And we're going to play the best teams in the country. We're going to schedule the best teams in the country. But by the end of the season, we'll play, of our 12 regular season opponents, 5 of those teams will be top 10 teams when we played them, so nearly half our schedule. And we have an opportunity at the end of the regular season to do something that nobody's done since 2019, and that's beat 3 top 10 ranked teams in the regular season. The last team to do that was LSU with Joe Burrow. So have we been faced with a pretty difficult schedule? Have we been faced with high expectations? Sure, but that's why we came here. So we'll be okay.
I find it really interesting, Roger, that Sark and all these coaches, they talk and preach one game at a time, and it's very, it's a very like hyper-focused sensation mentality. But whenever it is questioned upon them about certain things, they can rattle off the resume like this and like, hey, 2019, the last time we were able to do this and do that and do this and do that. Does he see? Is this just him politicking in case they go beat Arkansas and beat Texas A&M? That, hey, I'm going to get a 14-day head start on the college football committee to be able to try to get us into the playoff, or is he just being defensive against the fan base that might be grumbling a little bit?
Well, I think the first thing he's saying is we played Ohio State and we didn't have to, and that's probably a win if we don't play them. So then all of a sudden you say, okay, we were a 3-loss team with a game at number 2 in the country on the road. But it doesn't matter because they played them, right? But that's the weird thing about college football is the schedule matters. It doesn't work itself out all the time. And I think about you guys were talking about A&M. Nothing against A&M. They've had a magical year, and I've been sitting down here for 30 years watching them struggle just to play for a conference championship. Hasn't happened in the SEC. It happened once in the Big 12, and they lost to Kansas State. But think about the schedules. No Alabama, no Georgia, no Ole Miss, no Oklahoma.
Yep.
Texas, they didn't play Alabama. They didn't play Ole Miss. They didn't play LSU, but LSU isn't what we thought, or that would have been a marquee game.
Right.
They do play Georgia back-to-back. So, again, and in the old Big 12, there were divisions, right? So you had a South and a North. You played every team in your division and half the teams in the other division. So you had a pretty clear-cut way of deciding the championship game. Here it's just chaos with 16 teams. So it's almost like if A&M wins against Texas, then they should be the SEC champs.
Yeah.
Because you can't have it both ways. You can't look at who they didn't play and then say, well, they went undefeated. They should be the champs. So it's unintended consequence of these just like the Big Ten. Now that'll sort itself out because Indiana and Ohio State, who didn't play in the regular season, are going to play in Indianapolis. But the conference champion race now is so weird because of the massive sizes of the conferences.
Right, absolutely. Springing it forward to this upcoming week, it's an Arkansas team that if you look at their record and look at their resume overall, you're not really impressed. But if you watch them play football, especially offensively with that quarterback in Taylor Green, there's a lot of talent here on this football team. Are there any kind of growing concerns about this Texas defense going up against the Arkansas offense, which is high power, high caliber, and maybe a thought of, hey, we can't look ahead to Texas A&M and got to take care of business against a really good offense?
All those things, and there's no doubt. I think this team, unlike the Florida game, where they're coming off 3 non-conference wins and they go to Florida and they get beaten, they say, okay, that was bad, but we got so much in front of us, starting with our biggest rival in Oklahoma, and sure enough, they got things turned around. Now, you don't know. Are they teetering here? I mean, this is the day and age of college football where players start making business decisions.
Yeah.
We don't know the health of Anthony Hill. Reports that he's got a hand injury. We don't know the extent. Sark said they're optimistic that he'll be ready to go. But yeah, they haven't been in this situation in a couple of years where, they're not playing for a lot. I know there might be a path with 3 losses. They're definitely not a path to the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to rely on their love of football, their love of going home. It's not a big rivalry to the players. Yeah, it's a big rivalry to Texas and Arkansas from, days gone by. But yes, I think all those things are a concern of Sark. In fact, he said it today. He said, dangerous game.
Oh, yeah.
You don't usually say that. You usually hear him just say it's the next game. It's a huge game. Not looking ahead, not looking back at what happens. The old Mac Brown line when they lost 5 in a row to Oklahoma. Don't let one loss beat you twice. He won every time after that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns going into this Arkansas game. And it's also that they don't want to be the one where Arkansas kind of figures it out.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. And I'm really interested in that one, especially that matchup on the Texas defense against the Arkansas offense. We'll